Hello and welcome to the 73rd episode of the Accountant's Success Secrets podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mark Lee of Bookmark Lee. I'm a mentor, speaker and debunker.
And I'm Philippa Haynes of Insight 101, supporting you to stand out.
Each week on the podcast, we showcase another experienced accountant or bookkeeper who we think can inspire and encourage other accountants and bookkeepers in practice, even if all you do is go, yeah, I can relate to that. That makes sense to me too, which is something Ad told us earlier.
Yeah, we both recognise that every accountant and bookkeeper is unique and distinct. They have different backgrounds, experiences, and reasons for starting and building their practices.
So we ask.
Come on, Mark, come on.
I was so fascinated by that. So we ask them to share their stories, including the highs, the lows, and what they've learned along the way. We look to explore what makes them different in terms of their background, their successes, their failures, and their focus.
Yeah, our aim is to provide some fundamental insights for others like you, our loyal listener.
And if you'd like to share your story in a similar way, do please get in touch with Philippa or me. We're now booking guests for November episodes, or indeed you could recommend somebody, put them forward, as indeed one of our listeners put forward our guest today.
Phew, we got through that. Right, in our 59th interview, which is today, we are delighted to introduce Steph Beeston-Clarke, who leads Beeston-Clarke Accountants based in Winsford, Cheshire, near where I was brought up, but she works part-time from Lanzarote. For around 30 years, she has focused on providing accounting and bookkeeping services to a wide range of small charities. After qualifying with the ACCA, she started her own practice in 2002 and has grown a team currently of 8. They provide fully outsourced finance services to small and medium-sized charities and also for non-profit organisations throughout the UK.
Welcome, Steph. Hope we got that right. And is there anything you'd like to add before we get into the interview?
No, that was quite comprehensive. Thank you.
Yeah, we try and get it right, Steph. We try and get it right. Right, let's go through our sponsorship and then we'll get into the meaty stuff. So just before we start then, we need to thank our sponsor of the podcast, the fabulous Pinnacle Global Group, the trusted offshoring partner to over 150 accounting and bookkeeping firms across the UK and Ireland, led by London-based chartered accountant Mayank Pandya. Thank you very much for that. With offices in London and Mumbai and a team of over 300 plus professionals, Pinnacle provides both compliance resourcing from accountants, bookkeepers and payroll admins to tax and audit associates. And they also have value-added support, including management accountants, virtual finance controllers, financial analysts and more. They're GDPR compliant, ISO certified, covered by professional indemnity insurance, and offer flexible models, full-time, part-time, or pay as you go. You can even start with a trial period or join their sponsored trip to Mumbai to meet the team in person. Find out more at www.pinnacleoss.co.uk or click the link wherever you're listening to this podcast.
Also supporting the podcast is the Tax Advice Network. Their website enables accountants to choose specific specialist tax advisors for general tax support or for help across any of over 100 areas of tax. It's free to use. You just pay the tax advisor that you choose after agreeing terms with them, whether for ad hoc advice or a regular tax clinic type support service. Go and take a look at their website, findataxadvisor.online, where you can also register to get their weekly tax tips, which are written especially for general practitioner accountants.
And finally, before we start proper, you can now also subscribe to our podcast on the Patreon platform. This is where you can show your love and support for Accountant Success Secrets and also subscribe for exclusive Patreon-only extras, including extra video and questions and answers.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that later. You'll need to download the Patreon app, but once you've subscribed, you'll also get the extra episodes via your normal podcast platform. You find details of what to do in our normal podcast notes and on the Accountant Success Secrets pages on Facebook and on LinkedIn.
Right, now back to Steph. We like to keep the podcast to around 30 minutes and we focus on a few key questions. So fire away, Mark.
Okay, so Steph, the key question is going back to the start, really. How did you come to set up your own practice, and how did you get your first clients?
Okay. Well, we need to go right the way back now to 1995, so a little while ago now. And after a marriage, 2 children, a divorce, my current, who is now my husband, one day an off-the-cuff remark said, "Do you know what? You're really good with numbers. You'd make an excellent accountant." And the light bulb went on. I'd spent 10 years since leaving school knowing that there was something more for me to do, but I didn't know what it was. And he switched that light bulb on. Having not studied for a long time, since I did my O-levels, I'm that old.
Me too.
I went and did a home study bookkeeping course with my Frank Woods. I'm sure lots of people will know who that is. Did it all at home, just using the book and it was a correspondence course back in those days, not just home study. And I sent all my assessments off and went and did my exam and everything else, and passed that. And then I decided, at the time, the only option I'd got was to do ACCA. I couldn't do AAT. I can't remember why now. I'm a little older now. I can't remember. But my only option for doing home study was ACCA. So I set my practice up initially to fund my studies. I set a bookkeeping practice up, and my first clients I got by putting postcards in the post office and in the paper shop windows.
Oh,
and my first client was a working men's club, which is a not-for-profit. And they remained a client with me all the way through until 2011, which is a bit later in the story. So they were with me for a long time. So yes, that's what I started doing. And then I had to go as a mature student entry into ACCA, and to pass papers 1 and 3 before you could actually be accepted on. So I was working, trying to get the funds to be able to start my ACCA. And I used to knit jumpers in the garage at this point on an industrial knitting machine. While the kids were in bed, I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go and do my work before the kids woke up, because they were little, they weren't at school. And I used to listen to Russ and Jono on Virgin Radio. And they had a competition where they would ring people up, and depending on which ring, you won some money. And I won £2,000 on that show. And that was the exact amount of money I needed to fund my papers 1 and 3.
Oh, that's lovely. I used to listen to them as well. Fabulous.
Yeah. So there was something there saying this is what I was meant to do.
Absolutely. And why did your then partner, now husband of 25 years, I think you said, was it just he thought because you were good with numbers that would make you a good accountant? I
think so, yeah. Basically all our personal finances, the old fashioned way you put your money in your envelopes. I've always done my finance that way, but I did it on a computer at the time with a floppy disk that you had to put in every time you started the machine up.
Oh God,
yes. It was just the way I handled my money that made him say that. He was in business with his dad and his brother, and they had an accountant, so he knew what was involved from that side of it. And he just saw it in me.
Brilliant. And why do you think that light bulb went? Because I mean, you said that there was more to give, but I mean, you'd done quite a few different things. Like, I mean, you'd done the sort of Tupperware route, and you'd done really well at that because you'd ended up being a manager and stuff. So it's, it seemed like whatever you touched, you did really well at. So what was it, do you think? That
I don't know. It was. I just knew that there was more of me to give to something, but I just couldn't find what that it was. And it was him that switched that light bulb on. So as I say, I went and started my ACCA, and then I thought, I'm not going to be able to afford to pay for this all on myself. And if I want to do it properly, I need to get a full-time job. So I wrote to 50 accountants in Leicester. Bearing in mind, my son at this point, my youngest birth son was 7 months old at this point.
Wow.
Wrote to 50 accountants, and I got one reply, one interview. And by the time I got home from the interview, they were on the phone offering me the job, which for me, as a female with 3 children, all very small,
Wow.
They saw something in me that I couldn't quite see, I think, at the time, and gave me that chance.
Lovely. So I mean, let's fast forward to where you are now.
Yeah.
Looking back, did you ever expect to be where you are now? I mean, have you met expectation? Are you doing better than you thought you'd do? Have you gone in a different direction? How would you say a few years on?
I never had any ambition particularly to own my own practice, but it's been no surprise to anybody, only me, that I do.
Oh.
I mean, I worked my way up from literally the tea girl to audit manager. And as part of that, I've worked with charities all the way through. Sadly, I had a mental breakdown through stress and overwork, which is why I then went to work by myself after leaving there. So have I exceeded expectations? I think I have. I've still got more to give. I know I've still got more to give, but
that's all incredible, and thank you for sharing that particularly difficult episode with us. Where did the passion and focus for working with charities and not-for-profits come from?
I've always had it in my blood, literally since I was born. My parents were fully involved in St John's Ambulance, so I was involved in that as a child, giving to other people, volunteering that way. And my first client was a not-for-profit. When I went to work in the firm where I trained, I started with the not-for-profits. So I've worked with them all the way through. Charity's always been part of me and what I do. I was on our church PCC for 18 years. It's in me. And when I started my accountancy practice in 2002 by myself, it was a general practice. I had no intention of specialising in charities at that point. I ran that until 2011. And then we became foster carers. And so I stepped back, I got rid of the practice and kept 2 clients. One was a charity, one wasn't. And just worked with them while we were fostering.
And without wishing to pry, so please only share what you're comfortable with. Some people might assume that if you could afford to do that, you weren't making very much money from the other clients. If you could afford to give them up, and when you're taking on more family responsibilities as a foster carer. So how did you manage that transition?
Right. So what happened was we were doing okay. There were a team of 7 of us.
Wow.
But I ended up having another breakdown caused by, and this is a key learning really for me, was I'd taken on another practice, and one of those clients was under VAT investigation right at the beginning when we took it on.
Oh,
and we worked with them for 12 months. And the previous VAT investigation they had to pay the VAT man 60 grand back. Wow. When we finished, they didn't have to pay the VAT man anything at all, but then he refused to pay my bill, which was a significant amount. At the time, I did an interim bill. Duh. So that's definitely a key learning. And I went to see this chap, and he said, if I pay your bill, I'll lose my house. And I said, if you don't pay my bill, I'll lose my business. And he went, tough.
Jesus.
And it wasn't just him. I had a couple of other clients who were quite big clients who had got me involved in family members of theirs business saying, oh yeah, I'll pay the bill, and they didn't, and I ended up having to close the business down because of cash flow.
Gotcha.
It's quite hard as an accountant to admit that.
It's very hard, absolutely.
Yeah, really hard. And sorry, go on, Mark.
I was just going to say, but sad to say, and that's horrible stories, but you won't be alone, because like so many accountants, and particularly being particularly charitably minded, you were looking to help your clients. Yeah. And they had cash flow issues, so you sort of wait and you don't bill till the end because you know the work you're doing is worthwhile. And unfortunately, and it's a lesson dozens, hundreds, thousands of accountants learn over time. If you want to run a business, you've got to put your fees first, and if clients can't afford to pay, well, it's up to you. It's entirely up to you to choose whether or not to work for them as a charity. But sadly, you're not the first, and you won't be the last accountant who's built a decent business, and many who haven't, frankly. So you did well getting to the stage that you did.
Yes.
And then found out that I'm being taken for a ride here. So
we've smashed through the door then of the question of what have you learned along the way.
Absolutely.
With that one, that's a real cracker, isn't it? I mean, but obviously what else has sort of come up that you think you've learned over those years? Because I mean, obviously there's there's something about you having to sort of manage your own health and your priorities and your time, but obviously there's the accountancy part as well. So what nuggets have you got that you can share with us?
Never say never. At that point, I was never going to employ staff again. I was never going to have an office again. I was never going to have a firm. Obviously, that has changed somewhat because when we finished fostering, I needed to build the business back up because we needed income. And that's when I decided to specialize in the charities. So what have I learned? I've learned to be kind to myself. I've learned that nothing is impossible if you want it to happen. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is to just keep saying yes. And I have my business plan is a picture, it's not words. And I did this in a coaching session with my coach back in 2020. And I essentially drew a life plan from that point to when I depart this mortal coil. And in the corner of it, it just says yes. And learning to not go, oh, who am I to do that? I can't do that. But teach yourself to say, yes, I can do that if I choose to. And that it's a choice.
That's big, powerful stuff, that is. And how does that sort of affect your day-to-day then? Do you think, because obviously with a team of 8 and obviously quite a number of clients and stuff, how do you apply that?
I apply that by saying yes to my team, in as much as they can do what I can do if I say yes to them. And delegation, I need to do that. My team are fully remote. We have a really close team feeling, which is very, very important to me. And I treat my team the way I would like to be treated. And we very much, I look after their mental health as well. I'm not responsible for their mental health, but if I see them struggling, we do something about it. We don't wait for things to become an issue.
Yeah, it sounds very much like our previous guest, doesn't it, Mark, where they literally were, she was doing this working from home, but everybody else was working from home too, working from her house.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Sid, wasn't it? Sid Moore. That's
yeah. Well, back in the day when I very first started my own accountancy practice, we did the same. We had 4 of us working from home, from my home. Before we got the office, because we didn't quite have the space to expand anymore.
Yeah,
And
but
that
you
was
don't
long
have an
before.
office.
That was long
Go on.
before Zoom, wasn't it? So were you using Skype or?
We had an office back then, but when I started building and deciding just to work with charities, that was back in 2019. I was using Zoom before Zoom was a thing.
Hey.
By the way, we've got somebody online, Nikki, who said she'd love to work for you, and I don't know whether she means that as in, you know, directly, or just that you seem like a lovely person. So isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Hi, Nikki, and thanks for listening in.
There's an obvious question, Steph, that a lot of accountants and trainees or whatever will be wondering, which is, can you make good money working for charities and not-for-profits, particularly if you're charitably minded? Leave aside the fact that you take interim payments now to limit the prospect of being taken for a ride. But charities, by definition, don't have a lot of money. So how do you build a thriving practice from 8 team members just working with people who don't have any money? I mean,
that's a great question.
Paraphrasing what I think other people may be wondering.
Well, I think you've answered that in the question, is that it's all about mindset.
Yeah.
And back in 2020, I started working with a mindset coach, and she has done wonders with me, with my mindset, using neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, because I'm not a charity, and I've learned that I'm not a charity, but also, and I've heard so many people on the podcast talk about this, value pricing. The clients I work with value what we're doing for them. And if they value what you're doing for them, the price doesn't really matter, because they will find the money. If they need it, they will find the money. And certainly on the outsourced finance function role, which, to be fair, is where my joy sits. We do independent examinations and year-end work as well, but my joy is doing the outsourced finance function, the bookkeeping essentially, but management accounts, all those sorts of things. And we can add so much value and take so much stress away from those CEOs. And that's the thing, is helping the charity CEOs sleep at night, because I know what happens is that finance is at the very bottom of their list, because that's not what they're good at. So one of our strap lines is, we look after your money so you can look after your cause.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. And we have a number of our outsourced finance function clients who, I've got one in particular who messaged me a couple of months ago saying, we've just held an event here for the people that we look after, and we just wanted to say thank you to you, because you're an integral part, even though you're not on the front line.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, that was amazing, because I recruit for people with heart, not for whether they can do the job or not. Their heart is what's most important to me. You asked about making money. We make enough money to pay everyone's wages and to pay the overheads. I'm not,
and yours
and mine now.
Yes.
That again, that's a mindset thing that has changed over the last 6 years, hugely. But yes, we make enough money to pay the wages, keep the business going, invest in the business, in new technology. I'm a bit of a techie. I like finding new things to use, and it's not all about mega profits, which is what most accountancy firms are looking for. I'm not really interested. As long as my team are happy, my clients are happy, and we've all got enough to be doing what we want to be doing with it.
Yeah, that's great.
I thank you again for sharing it. I think there's a bit of a fallacy around the profession. I think larger firms are about making lots of money, but over the years that I've worked with sole practitioners in particular, very, very few are looking to make a lot of money. There was once a coach for accountants who was focused on helping them to make their first million. And then they realized that actually there weren't, and I knew this from the start, there weren't enough accountants out there who wanted to make $1 million. It wasn't a great focus, and they did revise it over time. I won't embarrass them by naming them, because it's not relevant. But I think it is a common fallacy. The vast majority of accountants I work with want to make a decent living and enjoy what they're doing. So I don't think you're alone in that, and thank you for that answer, because I think that there'll be plenty out there listening who will find that very inspiring.
Yeah, I mean, we our final question is about kind of mistakes made, and I think you've talked about a couple of examples, haven't you, where you know they've really been big mistakes, but there's probably something else in that journey around mindset where at one point you did think it was all about money or whatever. Are there any mistakes that you've made sort of along the way, or realizations, even if you prefer that sort of language, that are smaller but have really made a big difference?
Yes, trusting my gut is one of them. Also having a robust recruitment process that doesn't just involve me. So what's happened in the past is where I've recruited people on my own. Because I work from heart, I'm oh yeah, they'll be great. No. And let's just say the ones I've recruited by myself since I've had a team haven't really worked out very well. Whereas now there are at least 3 of us that interview people. We have a specific interview process, and I've heard people talk about this before. In our process, they have to provide us with a 2-minute video, because we're all remote. We work on Zoom. They've got to be able to talk to the camera. So they have to provide us a 2-minute video talking around their values and how they would fit within our team with those values. And they have to submit that with their CV. And it's amazing the number of people who will not submit the video. So they don't get an interview.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so simple but so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah. But because of the nature of our business, it's all done online. You've got to be able to speak to people on a camera.
Brilliant.
I think that is awesome, and such a sensible thing to do, and a great filter.
And I know what my biases are as well. And the rest of the team can help take those biases away.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, that's what the dream team is all about, isn't it? It's you're not all the same.
Yes.
So you're covering each other.
Is brilliant. Philippa, having heard all that, and before I ask Steph to share her contact details, what would you say makes her practice unique and successful?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously I've only listened to you for sort of 30 minutes, but I think my observation would be that you really are the embodiment of the business. So, I think people get hung up on the idea of niching or, focusing on one particular sector or whatever it is, and kind of saying, oh, well, that limits me. But because you are somebody who embraces that sort of charitable side and kind of live it anyway, I think it's just part of you. And for that reason, Mark's question about, how do you survive with charities and stuff? I think it's because you are the embodiment of it and you believe in it, you probably just talk like you believe in it and you're passionate and you go out there. And so, it in many ways, it kind of works because you're being authentic to yourself. And that's why Nikki, who's listening in, says that she completely, loves what you're talking about and incorporating all of that you've learned in life. So I think it's a lovely story. Yeah, that would be my starting point. And then obviously I'd work around how does that translate into kind of the message and the website and how do we really make it sing. But that would be my initial kind of observation.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I would agree. I remember the last time I disagreed with you on something like that. Steph, how can listeners like Nikki or anybody else find out more about you and the practice?
So our website is beestonclarke.co.uk. I'm on LinkedIn as Steph BC, because Beeston-Clarke is far too long to keep typing out. I'm also on Facebook if people want to find me on there as well. But mainly, the best place to look is the website. And any of the team are on there. And I think you said I'm the embodiment of the ethos of the business, but so are my team.
Great.
They really are. And that's our uniqueness, I think, is the fact that it's not just me. It's my name, but it's not just me.
Lovely.
Well done. Well, in our extra bonus interview for Patreon subscribers, which we'll be recording straight after this, we're going to ask you to talk about the biggest challenges that you're currently facing, how you're addressing them, and also how you're integrating or resisting AI in your practice. I remember you did say you're a bit of a techie, so I imagine there's something interesting to come up there. Before that, Philippa, how can listeners find out more about you and Insight 101?
So you can find me on LinkedIn or on my website, insight101.co.uk. If you're interested in finding out more about, how you can sort of pull out your story and really make your website and all of your marketing sing, then it's worth the chat. Obviously, I've only done 30 minutes with Steph, so those are my initial thoughts, but obviously then it's all about how does that translate into that marketing and the website and all of that messaging, so that it shows that it's not just Steph, that it is genuinely the team. So if you're interested in that, do get in touch. Mark, how about you? How can people
online
find
everywhere?
out more about
Bookmark
you?
Lee. Business card is a bookmark. One thing I've learned over the years of working with accountants, particularly those who don't have teams, although a number of my clients do have teams, is that running your own practice, being the key decision maker, can be lonely, even when things look fine on the surface. And if you're running your practice without a partner, or anybody else involved in decision making for the practice, then if you'd like things to feel clearer, smoother, or more rewarding, that's where I come in. Whether you're after better clients, fewer frustrations, or more profit on your terms, not necessarily looking for growth's sake, I'm always happy to chat. No pressure, no pitch. Sometimes one good conversation is all it takes. Other times it might lead to working together more regularly, joining my Soul Practice Club, coming on my LinkedIn Masterclass, another one coming up later this month. Either way, the first step is easy. Just reach out. In any event, I'd also encourage you to reach out and connect with both Philippa and me on LinkedIn. And do please follow the podcast pages on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Patreon.
Sadly, that's all we have time for today on the main podcast anyway. So thank you very much, Steph, for your 30 minutes with us today. It's been very illuminating. Thanks again to the sponsors of the podcast, Pinnacle Global Group, your trusted outsourcing partner. Do check out their website and let their CEO, Mayank, know you heard about Pinnacle Global on the Accountant Success Secrets podcast.
Thanks too to the Tax Advice Network, the easiest way for accountants to reach specialist tax advisors. Remember, there's no charge for using the website, findataxadvisor.online, where you can also access their weekly tax tips written especially for general practitioner accountants.
Yeah, so if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the love online, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or directly to us. That would be great. It all helps to broaden the reach of the podcast. And also, please contact either Mark or myself if you'd like to be interviewed on a future podcast.
Indeed, or if you want to recommend somebody like Steph was recommended to join us today. Thanks, Philippa. Thanks again to Steph. What fabulous interview. Next week, our interview guest will be Simon Mason, who runs Simus Accounting and Tax in Bedford. Before then, we're going to get further insights from Steph for our Patreon subscribers. So please head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/accountants success secret, singular. Don't ask. That's where you'll hear about the biggest challenges that Steph is currently facing and her approach to them. And as I said, often that involves guests talking about how they're integrating AI into their practices too. Otherwise, until next week or anywhere else we might meet online or in real life, bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you.